Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly transformative piece of work. We are unpacking Manoj Ankar's definitive book, Kill Busyness. And look, we're going to diagnose a critical leadership failure that might literally be happening right under your nose today, the illusion of productivity. If you're a CEO, a founder, or a leader desperately trying to build a lasting legacy, consider this explainer your ultimate wake-up call. We are going to break down exactly how you can stop chasing work and start building a genuine high-performance organization.
Okay, let's just jump right into this. I want you to look into what the book calls the busyness mirror and confront a really uncomfortable question. Are you building a high-performance organization or just a busy one? Because let's be real, motion is not progress. Your teams might be totally exhausted, working weekends, constantly putting out fires and reacting to escalations. And sure, it might feel like you have momentum, but if you examine it closely, it's often just empty activity. So ask yourself right now, are your teams experiencing actual, real progress, or are they just spinning their wheels? The contrast between the two is absolutely staggering. In a busy organization, meetings just breed more meetings, right? People sit in rooms for hours managing egos. And at the end of it all, if you ask, what did we actually impact? You are met with total silence. But in a high-performance organization, meetings end in firm decisions. Here's the hard truth. If your organization relies on constant follow-ups just to function, if your managers are spending all day chasing what was already agreed upon, you don't have a simple operational issue. You've got a deep cultural rot. And this habit forms a vicious trap known as the busyness cycle. It starts right at the top with unclarity, so an unclear purpose or a fuzzy strategy. Without a strict filter for what actually matters, teams default to overactivity. They just react to everything that feels urgent in the moment. This spreads the whole organization dangerously thin, diluting everyone's time and energy. And what happens next? Shallow results. You get a whole lot of motion, but very little meaningful progress. That inevitably leads to intense frustration and team exhaustion. And ironically, to escape that incredibly uncomfortable feeling of stagnation, leaders just trigger even more busy work, and this cycle just repeats itself. Let me hit you with a staggering reality directly from the source material: 60 to 70%. In a room of 30 senior leaders at a 20,000-person company, that was the average amount of time they admitted to spending just on internal follow-ups. Literally just chasing work. Think about Priya Desai, an operations head mentioned in the book. She calculated that she was sending 47 follow-up messages every single day. Her team was completely drowning. She finally went to her managing director and said, "We're not running a business, we're running a chase machine." That's 60 to 70%. That is time completely stolen from your company's future. Section 1. The blind spot of management: extractive versus regenerative. You see, busyness isn't a time management issue. It's a leadership flaw created right at the top. Look at this hard-hitting quote from the book. We call people at work human resources, not sources. For the better part of a century, management has basically operated on one foundational mindset: extract maximum. We treat people merely as fuel to be burned. Land, capital, technology, and people, all just resources to be used up and eventually replaced. And sure, on the surface, output surges, but beneath all that, the ground is completely hollowing out. So this requires a fundamental shift if you truly want to be a high-performance CEO. The extractive model treats everything as a resource with an expiring meter. It extracts maximum output to control behavior, and it's focused entirely on the short term. That is exactly what produces busyness. Conversely, the regenerative model treats everything as a source to partner with. You multiply potential over time. You trust and develop capability. When you start treating people as the source of your organization's future, rather than just fuel for its present, you build a lasting legacy. And that is what produces true high performance.
Section 2. The 3 deadly silences, or what happens when purpose dies. Because when you ignore this regenerative approach, your team's energy quietly withdraws, creating a massive void. An organization loses its collective intelligence, its courage, and its meaning from the outside in. This is called the 3 silences. Notice how busyness sits right there at the dark center. It's not actually the cause of your problems. It's what rushes in to fill the space left by 3 successive withdrawals from your people. And it ultimately leads to this: the silence of the soul. This is the deepest silence imaginable. It means the work just doesn't inspire anyone anymore. The game being played isn't big enough to call forth the best in your team.
People inherently want to build a legacy, but when that organizational purpose is absent, they just go through the motions to survive. They become professionally competent for sure, but spiritually completely hollow.
Let's trace the progression of how a culture actually cracks. Step 1 is a silence of the head. This is suppressed thinking. Ideas and innovations are withheld because, frankly, independent thinking just isn't welcomed anymore. Then comes step 2, the silence of the heart, absolute disengagement. Creativity and courage are withdrawn in favor of mere compliance. People do exactly what they're told and nothing more. And finally, you hit step 3, the silence of the soul we just talked about, where that overarching purpose completely dies.
Section 3. Strategy means saying no, overcoming the incumbent's dilemma. Because the truth is, busyness perfectly hides the absolute absence of a real strategy. There is a massive difference between being spread thin, meaning you're active everywhere but decisive nowhere, and having absolute laser focus. The book shares this incredible anecdote about Mohit. He was a consultant running 5 different businesses simultaneously and predictably failing at all of them. He finally had the sheer courage to say no to 4 of those ventures and focus entirely on lean consulting for very specific client profile. And the result? He scaled his business 15 times over in just 2 years. That is the unbelievable power of being focused. So how do you actually get that focus? Well, your organization has to rigorously answer 3 strategic choices. First, which customer segments do you actually wish to serve? Second, which of their specific needs will you address? And third, what is your unique competitive advantage that competitors can't easily replicate? Strategy isn't some long wish list of things you hope to maybe do one day. It is the absolute discipline of choosing exactly what you will not do. Section 4, the competency chain and the true cost of good enough. Because even if you have a great strategy, busyness forces devastating operational compromises. The competency chain reveals how just one rushed decision at the top cascades into total failure. It usually starts with a compromised recruitment because you don't have time to find the right person, so the wrong person enters. That cascades into training gaps, which leads to unprepared people in leadership positions. That then causes you to take on the wrong clients, which results in inconsistent delivery, and ultimately your brand is completely compromised. You have to fix the first link to break this compromise cascade. Section 5. The roar to high performance, your ultimate blueprint. How do we actually build that legacy? Well, this brings us to Manoj Ankar's central framework. The ROAR model is a continuous, highly structured discipline that is absolutely required to shift your entire company from a cycle of meaningless motion into a cycle of profound meaning and true high performance. Let's walk through these steps because this is where the real magic happens. Step 1, reflect. You have to confront the busyness you've created and allowed to normalize. Step 2, own. Take extreme ownership without any excuses. You are the source of the good, the bad, and the ugly in your company. Step 3, assert. Establish non-negotiable standards for yourself first and then your team. And step 4, run. Build high performance as a sustained architectural practice. Look, this isn't just about telling your team to try harder. It is about taking full responsibility and architecting real, lasting standards. So the crucial takeaway is this. Picking up a copy of Kill Busyness is quite literally the indispensable first step to rescuing your legacy as a leader. The path is laid out right there for you, but it all comes down to one final, incredibly provocative question. Will you look in the mirror and choose to build something extraordinary, or will you just go back to being busy? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I highly, highly encourage you to dive into the book so you can truly reinvent your organization.